Little Johnny is lying in bed, busting to go to the toilet. So he gets out of bed, runs downstairs into the living room, and finds his mother chatting to a bunch of her friends.
"Mommy!"
Johnny yells at the top of his voice.
"I gotta pee! I gotta pee!"
Well, needless to say, the mother is mortified at her son's language in front of her guests and scolds the young boy.
"Johnny, we do not shout that word in this house. Next time, just whisper, okay?"
Little Johnny nods sheepishly. His mother takes him to the bathroom and tucks him back into bed. The next night, little Johnny is busting to go to the toilet again. So he gets out of bed, runs downstairs into the living room, and there is his mother having a glass of wine with her friends.
"Mommy! I gotta whisper! I gotta whisper!"
he says. His mother excuses herself and takes Johnny to the bathroom, smiling at her son's innocent mistake, but relieved that he was at least more discreet than last time. She then takes Johnny back upstairs and tucks him into bed.
"Well done, sweetie,"
she says, kissing him goodnight.
"That was much more polite."
A few nights go by and, lo and behold, little Johnny is busting to go to the toilet again. So he gets out of bed, runs downstairs into the living room, and there is his dad watching TV.
"Daddy!"
Johnny says softly.
"I gotta whisper! I gotta whisper!"
"Aw, is that so, little buddy?"
says his dad, his eyes fixed on the television.
"Come on over here and whisper in Daddy's ear."
Two hunters traveled to Wisconsin one winter to hunt deer. After tracking a big stag for miles, they finally get it in their sights and take it down. As they struggled dragging the dead animal across the snowy open fields back to their pickup, they were stopped by an officer. He asked to see their hunting licenses and stamps. Assured that all was in order, the officer wished them a good day, but offered some advice.
"If you boys would pull from the front legs instead of the back legs, the animal will glide easier in the snow, instead of going against the grain of the fur."
The hunters thanked the officer and took his advice. After about an hour of pulling the deer, the first hunter says to the other,
"That officer was a nice guy, and this deer is easier to pull."
The second hunter replies,
"Yeah, but he wasn't all that smart. We're getting further away from the truck."
After a day of fishing in the ocean, a fisherman is walking from the pier carrying 2 lobsters in a bucket. He is approached by the ranger, who asks him for his fishing license. The fisherman says to the warden,
"I did not catch these lobsters. They are my pets. Every day I come down to the water and whistle. These lobsters jump out of the water and I take them for a walk, only to return them at the end of the day."
The warden, not believing him, reminds him that it is illegal to fish without a license. The fisherman turns to the warden and says,
"If you don't believe me, then watch."
The fisherman then throws the lobsters back into the water. The warden, wide-eyed and intrigued, says,
"Now whistle to your lobsters and show me that they will come out of the water."
The fisherman turns to the warden and says,
"What lobsters?"
A man walked into the produce section of his local supermarket and asked to buy a half a head of cabbage. The boy working in that department told him that they only sold whole heads of cabbage. The man was insistent that the boy ask the manager about the matter. Walking into the back room, the boy said to the manager,
"Some old fart outside wants to buy a half a head of cabbage."
As he finished his sentence, he turned around to find that the man had followed and was standing right behind him. So the boy quickly added,
"And this gentleman kindly offered to buy the other half."
The manager approved the deal, and the man went on his way. Later, the manager said to the boy,
"I was impressed with the way you got yourself out of that situation earlier. We like people who can think on their feet here. Where are you from, son?"
"Russia, sir."
The boy replied.
"Why did you leave Russia?"
The manager asked. The boy said,
"Sir, there's nothing but prostitutes and ice hockey players in Russia."
"Is that right?"
fumed the manager.
"My wife's from Russia."
"Really?"
replied the boy.
"What team did she play for?"
2 police officers saw an old woman staggering down the street. After stopping her, they could tell she had far too much to drink, and instead of taking her to jail, they decided to just drive her home. They loaded her into the police cruiser, and one of the officers gets in the back with the drunk woman. As they drove through the streets, they kept asking the woman where she lived. All she would say, as she stroked the officer's arm, is,
"You're passionate."
They drove a while longer and asked her again. Again, the same response. As she stroked his arm, she said,
"You're passionate."
The officers were getting a little upset, so they stopped the car and said to the woman,
"Look, we've driven around this city for 2 hours and you still haven't told us where you live."
The woman says,
"I keep trying to tell you. You're passionate."
A defendant in a lawsuit involving large sums of money said to his lawyer,
If I lose this case, I'll be ruined.
"It's in the judge's hands now," said the lawyer.
Would it help if I sent the judge a box of cigars?
Asked the defendant. "Oh no," said the lawyer. "The judge is a stickler for ethical behavior. A stunt like that would prejudice him against you. He might even find you in contempt of the court. In fact, you shouldn't even smile at the judge."
I see. Good to know,
said his client. Within the course of time, the judge rendered a decision in favor of the defendant. As the defendant left the courthouse, he said to his lawyer,
Thanks for the tip about the cigars.
"I'm sure we would have lost the case if you'd sent them," said the lawyer.
But I did send them,
said his client. "What? You did?"
Yeah, that's how we won the case.
"I don't understand," said his lawyer.
It's easy. I sent the cheapest cigars that I could find to the judge, but enclosed the plaintiff's business card.
A very shy guy goes into a bar and sees a beautiful woman sitting there. After an hour of gathering up his courage, he finally goes over to her and asks, would you mind if I chatted with you for a while?" She responds by yelling at the top of her lungs,
"No, I won't sleep with you tonight."
Everyone in the bar is now staring at them. Naturally, the guy is hopelessly and completely embarrassed, so he slinks back to his table. After a few minutes, the woman walks over to him and apologizes. She smiles at him and says,
"I'm sorry if I embarrassed you. You see, I'm a graduate student in psychology and I'm studying how people respond to embarrassing situations."
The man considers her apology for a moment, then responds at the top of his lungs, "What do you mean, $200? The only cow in a small town in Poland stopped giving milk. The people did some research and found that they could buy a cow from Moscow for 2,000 rubles, or one from Minsk for 1,000 rubles. Being poor, they bought the cow from Minsk. The cow was wonderful. It produced lots of milk all the time, and the people were amazed and very happy. Later, they decided to acquire a bull to mate with the cow and produce more cows just like it. Then, they would never have to worry about the milk supply again. They bought a bull and put it in the pasture with their beloved cow. However, whenever the bull came close to the cow would move away. No matter what approach the bull tried, the cow would move away from the bull, and he could not succeed in his quest. The people were very upset and decided to ask the rabbi, who was very wise, what to do. They told the rabbi what was happening.
Whenever the bull approaches our cow, she moves away. If he approaches from the back, she moves forward. When he approaches her from the front, she backs off.
The rabbi thought about this for a moment, then asked,
"Did you buy this cow from Minsk?"
The people were dumbfounded. They had never mentioned where they had gotten the cow.
You are truly a wise rabbi. How did you know we got the cow from Minsk?
The rabbi answered sadly,
"My wife is from Minsk."
As an 80-year-old man was having his annual checkup, the doctor asked him how he was feeling.
"I've never been better,"
he boasted.
"I've got an 18-year-old bride who's pregnant and having my child. What do you think about that?"
The doctor considered this for a moment, then said, "Let me tell you a story. I knew a guy who was an avid hunter. He never missed a season. But one day, he went out in a bit of a hurry, and he accidentally grabbed his umbrella instead of his gun." The doctor continued, "So he was in the woods, and suddenly a grizzly bear appeared in front of him. He raised up his umbrella, pointed it at the bear, and squeezed the handle. And do you know what happened? The doctor asked. Dumbfounded, the old man replied,
No!
The doctor continued, The bear dropped dead in front of him.
That's impossible!
Exclaimed the old man.
Someone else must have shot that bear!
The doctor replied, That's kind of what I'm getting at.